Hey, second graders, Mrs. Shannon back to talk with you about genre. Our genre of the week is a little different. This week we are going to be reading poems. So, within poetry, there are special literary elements. Those are some big words. But we are going to talk specifically this week about rhythm. Poems have rhythm. Rhythm is the repeating accents in a poem. You can clap the rhythm or beats in a poem. You may have heard Miss Burns, our music teacher, talk about rhythm and beats in music class. So now it's time to apply those skills in reading. First, let's start at the beginning. What is poetry? Poetry is a type of writing that is used to make a reader feel emotions. And instead of sentences and paragraphs, it has lines and stanzas, which I will highlight and show you as we read some of our poems this week. Poems often rhyme or have rhythm. So this week, I told you that we are going to be talking about a specific type of poetry or part of poetry, which is rhythm. The rhythm is the pattern of repeating accents in a poem. You can clap the beats in a poem to identify the rhythm. Finding the rhythm can help you better understand the ideas in a poem by helping to identify special words and highlight the feeling or emotions in the poem. Here is a small preview of one of our poems we will be reading this week. It is titled Desert Camels. And I said, I clap the beats in the first line. There are 8 beats. There are also 8 beats in the second line. The beats make the poem fun to read. So I am going to clap out the beats as I read. I will read it through first and then I will clap the beat. Camels have a hump on their backs to carry people and their sacks. So now I'm going to clap it out to make sure I've got my beats. Camels have a hump on their backs to carry people and their sacks. I can count it out too. Camels have a hump on their backs. 8. To carry people and their sacks. 8 again. So it kind of gives a rhythm or a beat to the poem and makes them more interesting and fun to read. Now you will need page 97 in your turn practice book. We are going to be reading a poem together and talking about how we know it has rhythm. All right, so go ahead and find your turn practice book now and press play when you're ready to move on. All right, here is the poem titled The Robin. A robin gathers twigs and fluff, and sticks and string and other stuff. She chooses things she likes the best, and weaves them in to build her nest. Second graders, that was fun to read. Did you hear any rhyme happening in this poem? Were you able to clap out the rhythm as I read? I will read it one more time, and I'd like you to try to clap along with me. A robin gathers twigs and fluff, and sticks and string and other stuff. She chooses things she likes the best, and weaves them in to build her nest. Great job. Let's answer the questions about the poem. Number 1 asks, how do you know this text is a poem? Well, if I look back, I know this poem rhymes. Fluff and stuff have the same word ending. Same with best and nest. Those 2 words rhyme. There also is a rhythm to the poem that repeats throughout each line. So I know that this is a poem because it has a rhyme and rhythm. You might also add that it has lines and stanzas instead of regular sentences. But this is the answer I have chosen. If you would like to add on, you can. Go ahead and press pause while you record and play when you are ready. Number 2 asks, how many beats do you hear in each line? Well, second graders, we need to go back and look at the poem. Every time a word has a syllable, that counts as a beat. So the word robin has 2 syllables in it. Robin. Let's check gathers. Gathers. That also has 2 syllables in it. So if I'm counting out the number of syllables or beats for each word, you can see I've added the number of beats for each word. A robin gathers twigs and spluff. So to know how many beats were in that entire first line, I need to add those numbers together. 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. I'll give you a moment to think in your head before I show the answer. 8. There were 8 beats in the first line. I'm going to double check the second line to see if that has the same amount of beats as the first. And sticks and string and other stuff. So all of the words in that line are 1 beat except for the word other, which is a 2-syllable word. If I add up all of the beats in this line, I also get 8. So our answer to our question is there are 8 beats in each line. Go ahead and press pause and play when you're ready to move on. Number 3, why do you think the poet uses rhythm? Well, second graders, I read at the beginning of this lesson that sometimes authors use rhythm and rhyme in their poems to make it fun to read. So I think that the poet uses rhythm to make it fun or enjoyable to read. I think the poet uses rhythm to make the poem fun to read. So take your time to make sure that all of your sentences start with a capital letter and end with a period, and that you've done your best to try to write all of your letters on the line. You guys did an awesome job following along with me today. I'm excited to read more poems with you and count out the beats. Have a great day, second grade.